a concert promoter in Australia, and on one particular tour that he brought back to Australia, the tour didn't go very well, and we actually ended up losing everything that we had as a family. We lost the house, we lost the car, we lost our life savings, and so my dad was looking for a fresh start for his career, for the family, and he got a job offer in Nashville, Tennessee, and awesome fans of, are you from Tennessee? Shocking, I like you guys, I like you. So got a job offer in Nashville, Tennessee, and my dad, just so we're aware, there's 6 kids, all right, at the time, all right? His wife, my mother, pregnant with his 7th, all right? And so we decided to move to America, and as soon as we arrived in the States, my dad actually lost that job. And losing that job, and so we were in a very, very difficult situation. We were sleeping on beds made out of clothes. We didn't have any way for our little sister to be born in a hospital. We weren't always quite sure where the next meal was going to come from. We didn't have a car. And I mean, the list went on and on and on, and we quite honestly didn't know what else to do other than just gather around as a family and just start praying for these essential things in life. And we got to see God do some amazing things during that time. I kid you not, some folks found out that we didn't have any furniture, and a few days later, they brought 2 box trucks full of furniture, and they furnished our entire house. Wow! Yes. Nice. And the next was this. Our little sister was born in a hospital. I'm very grateful for that. But one of the things I've realized about hospitals is they're incredibly gifted, incredibly skilled at sending you large bills, all right? And so we were broke, and so we got hit with this massive bill, and so my dad called up, and he made some sort of deal with the hospital, put on a payment plan, and several months later, he called him back up to make a payment on that plan, and the person on the other end said, "Hey, Mr. Smallbone, your bill has been paid in full," and we still to this day don't know who paid for our little sister that was born in a hospital, yes.
Yeah, hallelujah.
And the next was this. We were renting a home, and I think at this point the neighbors started to think that we were a little strange. I think they started to say things like, they have 6 kids. Can you believe it? 6 kids. Oh no, there's a 7th. And so, but one of the things I like about you Americans, you guys are inherently very, very generous people, all right? And so we had some friends and folks that we didn't even know would come, and they would start dropping grocery bags full of groceries on our doorstep, and I went to Mom and Dad, I was like, I like these Americans, we should stay and give us free food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next, and probably the most remarkable story was this. When we came to America, we came in the fall, and Thanksgiving was coming up. And the truth is, you Americans make a big old deal out of Thanksgiving, let me tell you. Right? But coming from Australia, and it's a wonderful day, right? It's one of my favorites. But coming from Australia, you gotta understand, we don't have Thanksgiving. All right? And as a young boy, I was homeschooled, and so I wanted to do a little research. I thought, why don't we have Thanksgiving? This is a wonderful holiday. We should have this in Australia.
Yeah.
And I didn't like what I found. All right? See, here's the thing. You guys got these wonderful people called pilgrims. All right? You know what England sent us? Convicts. Prisoners. The foundations of our countries could not be more different. We weren't very thankful as Australians.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. You guys are like, this is close to home. We are the pilgrims here. But family came to us and said, hey, why don't you come over for Thanksgiving and we'll show you the ropes, all right? And so we go over for Thanksgiving, had a wonderful, wonderful time with this family, became very thankful. And at the end of the night, the father of the household came to us. He said, hey, I don't know why, but I just feel compelled to give you the keys to my brand new car, and I just want you guys to have it. Like I said, we fell in love with Thanksgiving after that, And look, when you go through something like that, I mean, we would pray for things, and they would happen. We would ask for a miracle, and we would see it.
Wow.
It'll affect you. It'll change you. It'll impact you. And what I realized as a young boy was this: the moment that we stop giving to our friends, giving to our neighbors, giving to our families, and the moment that we stop giving to the poor, our souls go dark. And some of you might be wondering, what does this have to do with anything? We've been a part of an organization called Compassion International for a number of years. And Compassion International is a child sponsorship program that specializes in reversing the cycle of poverty in third world countries. It believes that by pouring into the youth of these nations, that we will raise up the next Mother Teresa, the next Billy Grahams, the next senators, doctors, prime ministers, all of the above, mothers, fathers, and they will transform these countries from the inside out. And I heard a very, very cool story about a young boy whose name was Richmond. And Richmond was actually born into a fairly affluent family. He was born in Uganda. And, but at a very young age, his father was actually murdered. And in that culture, with that murder went all of the provision for the family. And so they're actually forced to move into the slums. And I don't know if you guys have gone on a trip and experienced the slums before, but the slums is just unthinkable difficulty, 24/7, just unthinkable difficulty. And Richmond's mother started asking the same question that you and I would ask. And that says, how do I get my family out of this? How do I get my family out of extreme poverty? She ended up hearing about the local Compassion International project, and Richmond ended up getting accepted into that program. He's in that program for a number of years, ended up graduating with the equivalent of a high school diploma. He then went on and got his bachelor's degree over in Uganda, then came to the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago and got his master's there. And then I just heard that this boy, who is now a man, I just heard that he graduated with his doctorate right here in the United States. And look, the most convicting and challenging aspect of Richmond's story is actually this. The person who sponsored Richmond was a 14-year-old little girl who said to herself, hey, I can afford to sponsor a child because I can babysit for enough hours every month. And because of that one girl's decision, we are now seeing ripple effects take place all across the world, because Richmond, he's now gone back to Uganda and is planting churches, is shepherding pastors, and doing absolutely remarkable things, all because of one little girl said, I can do something. I can make a difference.
Nice.
And so in just a few moments, we're going to have some Compassion International volunteers come throughout this arena with these things called child packs. And I wanted to read to you a little bit about this child that I have here in my hand. This is very appropriate, his name. His name is Emmanuel, all right? And he lives in Uganda. And if you open up the packet, you can actually read up a little bit about this story. It says that Emmanuel lives with his mother. His mother is sometimes employed as a farmer. Emmanuel helps his mother by carrying water, cleaning around the home, working in the kitchen, and running errands. And, we don't obviously know what happens to Emmanuel's father and his situation. Uganda is a very, very difficult place politically right now. There's a lot going on there. His father could have been taken by HIV/AIDS. There's probably 5, 6, 7 other kids in the household, and his mother is sometimes employed as a farmer. And as you can imagine, the need is just insane. And for some of you here tonight, you might be thinking and saying to yourself, man, look, I love the thought of Compassion International. I love the thought of sponsoring a child, but I just can't afford it. And here's what I would say to you. If you were to get together with 2 friends, yourself and 2 friends, it'd be about $13 a month. You have a child's life, just like Emmanuel's, changed forever. Maybe tonight you came with a youth group or a small group or some sort of group. Sponsor a child as a group and take up a fund once a month. And you have a child's life, just like Emmanuel's, changed. Probably the most powerful way that I've seen child sponsorship take place is actually through families. When I was a young boy, my parents sponsored a child, and they put the picture, just like Emmanuel's picture, up on the refrigerator. And every time that I'd go get milk, or I'd go get orange juice, or I'd go get food, I was reminded of the fact there were other kids in this world who didn't have that ability, but yet that I could make a difference. I could go on Wrigley's, I could go on Rollins, and I could do something. And I think it's very, very important for us, particularly for us as parents, to understand that we live in a very selfish society, a very, very self-seeking society. And unless we are doing intentional things as parents to teach our kids what it means to be generous, what it means to be kind, our kids are just going to be going along with society. And I think that sponsoring a child as a family is just one of the many ways, but one of the ways that you can intentionally push back on what culture is trying to tell our kids these days. It's about themselves. No, it's about giving. And so what you would do, if you decided that you wanted to sponsor a child tonight, what you would do is you would take this blue tab at the bottom here and you fill it out, and you would turn it into several locations here tonight. We've got a bunch of tables up on the main concourse here tonight. Anybody with a blue apron on tonight, they're actually Compassion International volunteers. They have the ability to process the sponsoring of a child right there in your chair. So what you do is you take that blue tab, fill it out, turn it into any one of those locations, any of those volunteers or those tables. We have a couple tables also behind next to the sound and light desk, or probably the easiest way to sponsor a child is actually through these things called QR codes. Thanks to the pandemic, we actually know how to use QR codes now. But if you just scan that QR code, it'll actually take you directly to that child online. You can sponsor a child that way. You just follow through all the promptings. That's probably the easiest, fastest way to sponsor a child. And we also have our text to sponsor system, which is this. If you text the word drummer to 83393, you actually get sent a child virtually to your phone. It's been specifically curated for your phone number. And once again, you just click on that link, follow through all the promptings, and you can sponsor a child that way. And we're doing something very, very special tonight, and that's this. We want to give you guys a little gift if you sponsor a child, just as a way to say thanks. Our sweet, sweet mother, she actually wrote a book. It's called Behind the Lights, and we've been asking Mom to write a book for many, many years. She's like, I don't know if I want to be in front of people. And I was like, Mom, it's a book. You can write it in a closet if you'd like, you know? So she's written a book. We're very, very proud of her. And so we wanted to give that to you. Just kind of it talks about a little bit about our story coming to America. We also wanted to give you our Christmas CD, Drummer Boy Christmas, along with this Christmas bag. I got it around the wrong way. Along with this Christmas bag, just as a way to say thanks. I mean, this is literally, talking about Compassion International is literally one of the most important things that we talk about from the platform tonight. So we want to make sure we give to you guys as you give to these kids. So take that blue tab, fill it out to any one of the tables, or turn it into anybody with a blue apron on, or probably the quickest way, most effective way is to scan that QR code, follow through all the promptings. As soon as you get an email in your inbox, confirming that you sponsored a child, just raise that hand up really, really high, and then we'll come and give you that free gift, just as a way to say thanks. Same with the text to sponsor. Text the word drummer to 83393. As soon as you get that link, click on it, follow through all the promptings, and as soon as you get an email in your inbox confirming that you sponsored a child, just raise that hand up really, really high, and they'll come and give you that free gift, just as a way to say thanks. Oftentimes people wonder, look, why do you take time out of your concert to talk about Compassion International? Why don't you just play more songs? And here's the deal, under very, very different circumstances, I was much like one of these kids when I first came to America. And if it wasn't for people like yourselves who gave to me and my family, if it wasn't for people like yourselves who gave generously to me and my family, I wouldn't be sitting up here on the stage. And second of all, I say this, I will never grow tired of advocating for children who are in desperate need of food, clothing, and education, and most of all, who are in desperate need of Jesus Christ in their life, yeah? So right now, all across this room, if you were interested in sponsoring a child, you're not committing to anything, but if you were just interested in sponsoring a child, I just wanted to read up about one of these kids. Just raise your hand up really, really high. Maybe tonight you want to sponsor a child as a father. So why don't you guys have this one right here? Why don't you guys, there you go. Maybe tonight you want to sponsor a child as a father, son, mother, daughter, whatever it might be. Maybe tonight, as kind of a stocking stuffer in a really different way, you want to sponsor a child. One of the coolest things about Compassion International is you actually get to write letters back and forth to these kids. And so you get to have a really engaging relationship with them. So just raise those hands up really, really high. As I said, what you would do is you'd take that blue towel, you'd peel it off, you'd turn it into any one of the Compassion International tables or volunteers, or scanning the QR code is probably the easiest and quickest way to sponsor